Hello, my name is Wendy. If you're watching this video, it's probably because you saw my interpretation of Dana Coverstones' newest dream, Keep Your Eyes on the Prize. Or perhaps you saw my own dream, which gave me permission to share my interpretation of Dana's dream with the public. If that's the case, I'm glad that you're back, because in this video, I'm going to share a couple of the dreams that the Almighty gave me to help me understand that Dana's dreams were about opening the spiritual eyes by taking the path of enlightenment. If you haven't seen my interpretation of Dana's dream, then I strongly encourage you to watch it first, so that you will have a basic understanding of the metaphysical things that I will be talking about in this dream. Right after I heard Dana share his dream about the red substance and people falling out of the tall building, I had a short dream that helped me understand the allegory of the tall building in Dana's dream. In my dream, I was up near the top of the Empire State Building. This area is known as the observation deck. Only I wasn't standing on the deck. I was floating beside it, hundreds of feet in the air, looking down the side of the building. Even though I didn't see the iconic radio tower on top of the building, I knew that I was floating beside the Empire State Building because of the unique step architecture that I saw located at the lower levels of the building. Then, all of a sudden, I saw new floors being added to the top of the building. They were being added at the same elevation that I was located at. The floors were being added very fast. There were several new floors within the span of a heartbeat, and with each heartbeat, a new step was added to the architecture of the building. Also, different color beacons were added to the top floor of each completed section. The first light beacons were pastel green. Then I saw pastel blue. Then I saw pastel purple. And the last color that I saw was pastel pink. When I woke up, I had a strong impression of the word Jubilee in my mind. Deep down inside, I knew that this dream had to do with a Jubilee somehow. My first thought was the rising building represented a timeline, because a Jubilee is calculated by multiplying 7 by 7 sabbatical years, which is a total of 49 years, and then adding the 50th year for a Jubilee. However, the Jubilee timeline theory didn't explain why I saw the last floor of each section identified by its own unique color. Suddenly, I recognized that each new colored step in the building's architecture represents the successful completion and activation of an energy center within a person's body. Once a person's consciousness has successfully completed all 7 steps, which is compatible with completing 7 sabbatical years, that person has reached their own personal Jubilee, a state of enlightenment. I was very grateful that the Almighty gave me this dream to help me understand Dana's dream. In his dream, Dana was surrounded by low-energy people whose spiritual consciousness resonated in the red zone. Because I saw a similarity between my subconsciousness in the red carpet dream and the news anchor in Dana's dream, I wondered where my consciousness resonated on the color spectrum. So I asked Abba to give me a dream to help me understand. That night, after I was given the red carpet dream, and while I was still working on my interpretation of Dana's dream, I received another dream which answered my question and gave me even more understanding about Dana's dream. I dreamt that I was at a small town festival. There was a sense that I was with a significant other at this festival. I never saw him. I only felt his presence. We were having a good time walking around together at the festival. As we walked around, I could hear live music playing in the background, but the song wasn't important enough for me to remember anything about it. Eventually, I came to a sink in the park where I washed my hands. As I washed my hands, I noticed that the color of the water was yellow, like lemonade. After washing my hands, my invisible companion and I sat at a white picnic table that was among other white picnic tables. We were in close proximity to the stage, but I never turned and looked at the stage. Like my invisible companion, I just knew that it was there. Then I heard a woman on stage make an announcement. She said, "Before Stevie Nicks plays the next song, she is giving people an opportunity to share their thoughts about love. She's giving people 15 minutes to speak for 15 seconds. Are there any volunteers?" I rose my hand with the lady who was sitting across from me at the same time. I rose my right hand, and she rose her left. Also, my invisible companion was sitting on my left, while her man was sitting on her right. In a way, we were a reflection of one another, only we didn't look alike. Because they were facing the stage, she was noticed and called first. As she lovingly clung to the arm of her man, she started talking about the virtues of love. I can't remember exactly what she said, but it seemed like she took the words right out of my mouth. At the end of her comment, she said, "The best thing about being with a person who you love is that you can pick each other up if anyone falls." Then she was done speaking, and it was my turn to talk about love. My tongue was tied and I couldn't speak. I had nothing more to add. That was the end of the dream. When I woke up, I tried to remember what the Bible said about love. I knew that there was a long list somewhere in the New Testament. I remember that being patient and kind was on the list. Also, I knew that self-sacrificing wasn't on the list, but it ought to be. When I started my dream interpretation, I quickly recognized that the yellow water that I washed my hands in was a clue that my consciousness resonated in the yellow frequency zone. This zone is known for being energetic and confident, which I was at first, until the woman sitting across from me said everything that I knew about love, and I had nothing else to add. The yellow water in this dream and the Tutti Frutti hat in my red carpet dream explains a vision that I had a month ago. I was within myself, first person, but saw another version of myself standing in front of me on my left side. She took a green backpack off of her back. Then she reached into the green backpack and handed me a bright yellow banana. At the time, I didn't understand this vision, because I didn't possess the knowledge to interpret it properly. But I've learned a lot over the last month. Now I see that she took the green backpack off of her back and gave me a yellow banana to show me an example of love, which is generosity, and help me get out of the yellow frequency. As my subconscious was processing all this, I continued to work on the interpretation of my dream by looking up the name meaning of Stevie and Nicks. Both names mean victory, and so this dream is telling me how to become victorious and conquer the topic of love. I recognized the name Stevie Nicks as being a singer, but I didn't know anything about her or her music, so I did a Google search for her songs. The first song to pop up was "If Anyone Falls." I immediately saw its connection to Dana's dream, where people were falling out of windows. Also, the song title echoed the words of the woman who sat across from me and said, "The best thing about love is that you can pick each other up if anyone falls." She wasn't talking about people literally falling out of windows. She was talking about their emotional state of mind. So I clicked on the music video, expecting that I would gain some additional insight into the dream. The first thing I noticed was I didn't recognize the melody at all. I immediately turned off the video because I wasn't a fan of the high-pitched background music, which distracted me from understanding the song lyrics. So I resorted to doing a Google search and reading the lyrics. And of course, the song had lyrics that pertained to my dream and was about the topic of love. It even mentioned not knowing the words to say, just like in my dream. Why do you suppose that I became tongue-tied? The consciousness of people who have mastered love resonate in the green zone, and I was stuck in the yellow zone. Once I realized where my consciousness was resonating, I knew that I had to consider my intentions behind sharing my interpretation of Dana's dream. Was I sharing the things I know so that I could lift myself up as an egotistical know-it-all? Or were my intentions more pure, to show the things that I know so that others could benefit, which is an act of love? Even though I love to teach, I'd be lying if I said that my heart was always in the right place, which is why I'm very grateful to Abba for giving Dana his dream, because it has given me an opportunity to really examine myself. After reading the song lyrics and making the amazing connections, I returned to the music video to see if there is any more hidden information for me. The song begins with a woman dressed in black sitting in a dark, empty movie theater. Then she begins to see herself on the movie screen. She watches herself walking across the movie screen dressed in white light, accompanied by a spiritual guide. Also, another female wearing a white dress, who looked a lot like the singer, is sitting at an organ. This kind of reminds me of my red carpet dream, where I was preparing to be escorted by an actor playing the role of the Almighty, as my subconscious sat at a desk. Later in the song, she sings about only being able to see her lover's shadow on the wall, and that she would never be able to see him because she doesn't know the words to express herself. In my dream, I was sitting beside my significant other, but I couldn't see him. I only felt his presence. And I, too, didn't have the words to express myself. After a while, the woman in the dark movie theater had her lover sit beside her, but she never turned to see him. Also, as the singer mentions the thoughts in the back of her mind, we see the organist, who represents her subconscious, standing next to a door of light. The video ends with the woman dressed in white being escorted by the spiritual guide, walking across the movie screen again, only this time they are walking in the opposite direction. This shows that the singer can exit the darkness and see her lover, but it requires her conscious and subconscious to turn around. In other words, they had to change their behavior. Abba gave me this amazing dream, which ties into all the dreams I've been having, so that I could examine myself and make the appropriate changes within my heart, so that I could truly help people on their spiritual path of enlightenment, and in doing so, help myself. And of course, once I realized all this, Abba gave me another dream, which confirmed that my subconscious turned around. I will share the 4 green dishes dream in a couple of days. If you would like to see it, please subscribe to my channel. Why do you suppose that the announcer at the festival said that Stevie Nicks is giving us 15 minutes to speak for 15 seconds? In the Hebrew calendar, there are 2 week-long festivals that begin on the 15th of the month. The Hebrew calendar isn't a solar-based calendar like the Gregorian calendar that we use here in the United States. The Hebrew calendar is a lunar calendar. Because each month begins when the moon is new, that means that these 2 very important festivals occur when the moon is full of light. We serve an amazing Creator whose creativity has no limits. I hope that this video has blessed you and helped you on your path of enlightenment. My name is Wendy, and you've been called out of darkness.